Shri Rupam Satyakam Sarvanam Sarvayam Sarvayam Parajanam Sarvam Krishna Shri Radha Krishna Dasam Sahaganam Bhavai Shri Radham Bhavas Ram Krishna Bhavai Krishna Krishna Shri Radha Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Saraswate Devi Bhagavan Prasad Nirvishek Sundavadi Pasha Namo Maharanyaya Krishna Prema Pudaya Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Bhagavad Krishna Namah Hey Krishna Karunan Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagapati Gopesh Gopika Shradha Kanta Masika Sattvakanchana Gauran Vishweran Vishadhan Sukaive Tamani Haripe Nilashva Samaya Pyaya Paramaham Bhagavato Swadrati Sharanataya Vancha Purvatarisha Vipasako Padikana Parani Hariyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaurabhadra Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Upam Raja Mandate Yatrapātamam Hare Shri Guru Devata Paramanandamaru Shri Chaitanya Hare Krishna. So we were discussing Canto 5, Chapter 10. And I believe in our last class we discussed text 9. So today we will start from text 10 onwards. Stādhyam Vyadhaya Adayasya Shuddhayam Pavirichajarasya Nidraratir Manyuram Patanshit Devena Jatasya Vimena Shanti. Fatness, thinness, bodily and mental distress, thirst, hunger, fear, disagreement, desires for material happiness, old age, sleep, attachment for material possessions, anger, lamentation, illusion, an identification of the body with the self are all transformations of material coverings of the spirit soul. A person absorbed in the material bodily conception is affected by these things. But I am free from all bodily conceptions. Consequently, I am neither fat nor skinny nor anything else you have mentioned. But Srila Narottam Thakur has sung, One who is spiritually advanced has no connection with the body or with the bodily actions and behavior. When one comes to understand that he is not the body and therefore is neither fat nor skinny, one attains the topmost form of spiritual realization. When one is not spiritually realized, the bodily conception entangles one in the material world. At the present moment, all human society is laboring under the bodily conception. Therefore, in the Shastras, people in this age are referred to as Duipa, the Pashu, two-legged animals. No one can be happy in a civilization conducted by such animals. Our Krishna consciousness movement is trying to raise fallen human society to the status of spiritual understanding. It is not possible for everyone to become immediately self-realized like their mother. However, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Ashtaprayeshu Bhakti Nityam Bhagavat Sevam. By spreading the Bhagavad principles, we can raise human society to the platform of perfection. When one is not affected by the bodily conceptions, one can advance to the Lord's devotion and service. Ashtaprayeshu Bhaktishu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naishtati. The more we advance our freedom from the bodily conception, the more we are fixed in devotion and service. And the more we are happy and peaceful. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya says that those who are too materially affected continue the bodily conception. Such persons are concerned with different bodily symptoms, whereas one freed from bodily conceptions lives without the body, even in a material condition. Many times, people blame material situations and God for their misery. As I say, because the material situations are so piercing and infective, therefore we are troubled by these miseries and agonies. Herein, Maharaj Jadabharat is giving us a very deep revelation. Maharaj Jadabharat is explaining that you see the misery of one's life is not very much related to the environment or the atmosphere, but it is very much related to how much susceptible to the material atmosphere, especially the material infections one is. Material infections may be prevalent, but if one has a good immunity, he won't be affected by disease. And that is what Maharaj Jadabharat is pointing out. That when one is in a bodily concept of life, then one is susceptible and prone to diseases. And only in that situation, all these disparities, of which the long list is mentioned by Maharaj Jadabharat, whether it is fatty, skinny, hunger, thirst, fear, lamentation, disagreement, old age, attachment, illusion, so on. The big list will only affect when one is in the disease bodily conception of life. So disparities only affect a materially conditioned soul. They don't affect a self-realized soul. A self-realized doesn't mind being fat or skinny, being in bodily comfortable situation or distress situation, being fully fed or fully hungry. It doesn't matter to him whether people salute him and agree to him or disagree to him. Salutation and box on the nose both are equivalent. Just self-realize. Glorification, criticism doesn't affect. So rather, Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport that this kind of a life of being affected by material conditions is rather an animal life. And now the point which is explained here is that as long as one is in animal life, one will always be affected by external circumstances. There's a reason why this such a kind of living entity is termed as an animal. You see, the point is, an animal works on instincts. These instincts are very much dictated by the environment. So if one is simply dictated by the environment and one is working in that way instinctively, that means one has no higher consciousness. Higher consciousness means one can still choose not to respond, even in an instinctively provoking state. And that is where human life starts. If one is simply reciprocating according to the instincts which the environment is dictating, one is no better than a Dvipad, Pashi, two-legged animal. So therefore, to go beyond this instinctive behavior, a culture of hearing the holy glories, hearing and chanting of the holy glories of the Lord and Saint. That is the proper saying. Nashtapraya Shabbatyas. Nityam Bhagavat Seva. Only by that one can raise oneself to the platform of perfection. Perfection is what? No matter whatever trying, provoking situation, one is not triggered. One is not triggered. Being triggered by provocations, animal life. Tolerating all provocations, divine. And that is what is being explained here. So either the infection does not exist or one has immunity over the infection. Both are equivalent conditions. So in this world, the infection will not cease to exist, but we can get immunized by taking cetera. That is the principle. So therefore, Maharaj Bharat is actually exhibiting a very beautiful vibhuti because Maharaj Bharat is exhibiting that he has been provoked and he is not agitated by the provocation. That goes to show it's not in the bodily concept of life. Very simple. Bodily conception is a disease, is the contamination. Just like Brigumani test at Brahma Lord Shiva, they were provoked and they got to. That means Brigumani concluded there is bodily contamination. Contamination of the modes. Because there is a provoking signal and there is a response to that signal. Means bodily conception. Whereas in Lord Vishnu, there was a bodily, the provoking signal, but no response. Completely unaffected. That means beyond bodily conception. So here, Maharaj Jadabharat is not in the least affected by such kind of intensely harsh and sarcastic words of Maharaj Raghuvat. And why he is not affected? Out of his great mercy, he is explaining. Because he is not a bodily person. Swarga apavarga narkeshu apitulyada darshana. How glorious is the devotee of the Lord. For him, it's always absorbed in the transcendental glories of the Lord. In the transcendental service of the Lord, for him, Swarga, Apavarga, Narkeshu, all sing. So anywhere he goes, he'll chant and he'll preach. Everything is the same. Okay, let's read further. Jeevan Niyamena Atyanta Vikritasya Drishtam Swayam Bhago Dhruva Idya Yatra Tarahi Uchyate Asa Virikritya Yoga. My dear king, you have unnecessarily accused me of being dead, though alive. In this regard, I can only say that this is the case everywhere because everything material has its beginning and end. As far as you're thinking that you are the king and master and thus trying to order me, this is also incorrect. Because these positions are temporary. Today you are king and I am your servant. But tomorrow the position may be changed. And you may be my servants and I your master. These are temporary circumstances created by providence. The bodily conception is the basic principle of suffering in the material existence. In Kali Yuga especially, people are so uneducated that they cannot even understand that the body is changing at every moment and that the ultimate change is called death. In this life, one may be a king, and in the next life, one may be a dog, according to karma. A spirit soul is in a deep slumber caused by the force of material nature. He is put into one type of condition and again change into another type without self-realization or knowledge. Conditioned life continues, and one falsely claims himself a king, a servant, a cat, or a dog. These are simply different transformations brought about by the supreme arrangement. One should not be misled by such temporary bodily conceptions. Actually, no one is master in this material world. For everyone is under the control of material nature, which is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the ultimate master. As explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ekale Ishwaran Krishna Arasabhritya. The only master is Krishna and everyone else is a servant. Forgetfulness of our relationship with the Supreme Lord brings about our suffering in this material world. So this is quite interesting here. The interesting point is, you see, what is the interesting point? The interesting point is the thread or the point of the temporary is being highlighted. So it is said not to invest in a temporary. Why? Because it is a temporary. It won't last for long. Ishwaranand Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj very succinctly described it as, okay, investing in a bank which is doomed to fail. Diwala bank. So if one invests all his wealth in a Diwala bank, such a person is foolish. So therefore, the temporary is very foolish. Investment in a temporary very foolish. Diwala bank investment very foolish. Is it not? So very very foolish like that. See, just like now, when we say, okay, what's the problem with the temporary? Well, the problem with the temporary is it is temporary. Won't last. So we have to understand that because the temporary is a temporary, how can the temporary satisfy the permanent? The living entity's hunger is permanent. So no amount of temporary can satisfy the permanent. But the hunger is permanent. So the hunger is permanent and that requires a permanent solution, constant solution. So it's like, getting one time food does not satisfy us. We need 3 times a day, every day. If somebody gives us one time food in a month, we die. Is it much? Because so we need a constant supply, not a one-time supply. But material world only offers one-time supplies. That's the problem. So the hunger, the need of the soul is permanent, therefore the temporary can never satisfy. That is why no amount of material endeavor the spirit soul remains hungry, dissatisfied. The spirit soul can only be satisfied with the permanent relationship with the Supreme Lord and the awakened. One doesn't go gets in that way. So the permanent hunger cannot be satisfied with the temporary food. Now, interestingly, what is temporary? So you see this. What is temporary cannot be taken very seriously. This is the message of the Devara Jadavara. Temporary means short period of time. Like say, for example, sometimes we do drama, 20 minutes, 30 minute drama. Right? So suppose one has become a princess in a drama. It become a princess. You know? and one is wearing a sari and princess, you know. So one may enjoy the role of a nice, a princess, liquid beauty, So under the drama, but suppose now, okay, after drama we introduce ourselves. So then one says, okay, I'm princess. Actually, I'm fifth year student, fourth year student, this my CGPA, okay, and uh, like that. So now just suppose the person has done drama. Nalanda complex, Nalanda altering nice, all first year applauded, very nice, wonderful, like that. But the person doesn't come out of the drama. The princess, even after the drama, she's the princess. And the night this fellow sleeps, it's the princess. He sleeps as the princess. In the morning, this fellow gets up with the princess. And next day also one goes into the college in that sari, the princess. And people say, what happened? Kya ho gaya? Are you on drugs? And they say, no, no, yesterday you glorified me because I was a princess. Yeah? Yeah, because of the princess. So I'm the princess because I got so much glorification. So I realized my actual worth, I'm the princess. So now glorify. They'll say, fool, no? What glorification? So no, then why did you glorify yesterday? So it will be a very ridiculous Siddharth. And this fellow will simply make a caricature of himself or herself. That's the point. Simply make a caricature of himself or herself. So temporary is the illusion on the grounds of the permanent. Is it not? Just like this fellow was actually a princess. But his thinking himself princess is an illusion. Why? Because it only existed for a very small period of time. And then it was disappearing. So temporary is always an illusion. After that phase is gone. Is it not? So that is why it is said that one should not give much weightage to the temporary. So now Raghunath Maharaj thinking I'm the king. Actually, it's a drama going. And the drama is thinking I'm the king. And he's continuing the thought process, I am the king. And I am the king. So every king should always remember one thing. That long enough, no one can remain king. That is something what everyone has to remember. And that is something what Raghunath Maharaj has forgotten. And that's why Maharaj Jadbharata is reminding him. So one who accepts the Supreme Lord as all in all will never land in such a illusion. Will never land in such a predicament. So therefore, Maharaj Jadbharata is saying that the glories of the Lord you should sing, not just keep thinking that I am the king. That's all. Because the idea that I am the king and I'm superior, I'm great will not last for long. So therefore, to continue with that consciousness of that Chetana is very disastrous because it's temporary. It's illusory. Illusion. Temporary. No permanent. So therefore, Prahlad Maharaj says intelligent people, they invest the temporary to gain the permanent. That is intelligence. Materialistic people, they waste their whole permanent energy to perpetuate a temporary illusion. This is not. Let's read further. Yes. How can we invest in temporary and then gain the permanent? Invest the temporary uh, in the fire of the Lord to gain the permanent. In the fire of Sankirtan, the fire of the mission. Temporary. Every single day we get up, we have limited energy, we have limited time. We can sleep, we can chit chat, we can criticize. But the day will be gone soon. And that day is never coming back. So the day is temporary. But we can do Krishna's service on that day. Therefore, the Shastra said that day when we have not heard the glories of the Lord, sung the glories of the Lord, the bad day. Tad dinam durdinam manye katha piyushavasitam. That day, bad day. When no katha of Krishna was taken. So when one is devoid of Krishna, it's bad. Rather, it's very sad. And most unfortunately, the person also goes mad. Okay, let's read further. So we just read 11, right? Text 12. विशेषबुद्धे मनात् पश्यामन्ना व्यवहरतो अन्य कायेश्वरस्तत्र किम् इषितव्यम् तथापि राजन् करवाम किं ते I am the king. If you still think that you are the king and I am your servant, you should order me and I should follow your order. I can then say that this differentiation is temporary and it expands only from usage or convention. I do not see any other cause. In that case, who is the master and who is the servant? Everyone is forced by the laws of material nature. Therefore, no one is master and no one is servant. Nonetheless, if you think you are the master and I am the servant, I shall accept this. Please order me. What can I do for you? It is said that Srimad Bhagavatam, Aham Mameti, one thinks, I am this body. And in this bodily relationship, he is my master, he is my servant, she is my wife, he is my son. All these conceptions are temporary due to the inevitable change of the body and the arrangement of material nature. Yeah, we are gathered together like straws floating in the waves of an ocean. Straws that are inevitably separated by the laws of the waves. In this material world, everyone is floating on the waves of the ocean of the science, as described by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Jiva Krishna Das, Hey Vishwas, Karle Tu or Dukha Nai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur stated that all men and women are floating like straws on the waves of material nature. If they come to the understanding that they are the eternal servants of Krishna, they will put an end to this floating condition. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kamesha Krodha Joguna Samadhava. Due to the mode of passion, we desire many things, and according to our desire or anxiety, and according to the order of the Supreme Lord, material nature gives us certain type of body. For some time we play as master or servant, as actors play on the stage under someone else's direction. While we are in the human form, we should put an end to this nonsensical stage performance. We should come to our original constitutional position known as Krishna consciousness. At the present moment, the real master is material nature. Under the spell of material nature, we are becoming servants and masters. But if we agree to be controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and eternal servants, the temporary condition ceases to exist. Srila Prabhupada explains here. So here Maharaj Jadabhat is explaining how everyone is forced by the material nature. Nobody is having freedom. Only people force themselves. So no one is having that freedom. Everyone is controlled by the material nature. just like pieces of straw coming together and then separated by the base, never to meet again. That is the analogy which is given. So we can only pose ourselves as being a controller in this material world. That's all. But it is ultimately material nature which is the controller. That's why Prabhupada is saying the purport, there is only one supreme force in this world. Devi Esha Gunamaya, material nature. So no one can stand in front of the material nature of the material energy. So therefore, a sane man, an intelligent person understands that better to be controlled by the material nature, better than being controlled by material nature is to offer myself completely to the service of the Lord. Better to be controlled by a devotee rather than by material nature. Because material nature will follow algorithms of karma. So better to be butchered and battered by these by the violation owing to the violation of the principles of karma, dharma, and being entangled by karma. Better than that is to be controlled by the hand of the Supreme Lord. Because the Lord can bring auspiciousness. Understanding this, a devotee offers himself or herself completely at the lotus feet of the Lord. So therefore, the feeling of a devotee is that, oh Lord, I don't want to leave your shelter. Why? Because I've been wandering around in this world like an orphan. But having come and having taken shelter of the lotus feet, let's read further. Unmattamutmattajadavat susamstham gatasya me veera. चिकित्सितेन अर्थाकियान् भवता शिक्षितेन स्तब्ध प्रमत्तस्य च पृष्ठपेश. My dear king, you had said, you rascal, you dull, you crazy fellow, I am going to chastise you. And then you will come to a sense. In this regard, let me say that although I live like a dull, dumb, deaf man, I'm actually a self-realized person. What will you gain by punishing me? If your calculation is true and I am a madman, then your punishment will be like beating a dead horse. There will be no effect. When a madman is punished, he is not cured of his madness. Purpose. Everyone in this material world is working like a madman under certain impressions falsely acquired in the material condition. For example, a thief who knows that stealing is not good and who knows that it is followed by so one who knows that it is followed with punishment by a king or god, one who has seen that thieves are arrested and punished by the police, nonetheless steals again and again. He is obsessed with the idea that by stealing he'll be happy. This is a sign of madness. Despite repeated punishment, the thief cannot give up his stealing habit, and therefore the punishment is useless. Everyone in this material world is working like a madman under certain impressions falsely acquired in the material condition. For example, a thief who knows that stealing is not good and who knows that it is followed with punishment by a king or god, who has seen the thieves are arrested. Is obsessed with the idea that by stealing he will be happy. Yeah, this is a sign of madness. Despite repeated punishment, the thief cannot give up his stealing habit. Therefore, the punishment is useless. Everyone in this material world is working like a madman under certain impressions falsely acquired in the material condition. For example, a thief who knows the stealing is not good and who knows that it is followed with punishment by a king or by God, who has seen that thieves are arrested and punished by the police, nonetheless steals again and again. He is obsessed with the idea that by stealing he'll be happy. This is a sign of madness. Despite repeated punishment, the thief cannot give up the stealing habit, and therefore the punishment is useless. So yes, people condition is bad because they are mad. Madness means no sanity, no common sense, no logic. And many times that's how people are. So now here Maharaj Jadapati explains a madman cannot be treated by punishment. Bodily punishment. Material nature thrashes the living entity top down, left, right, you know, all the direction. Still the living entity doesn't give up that habit of self gratification. So therefore the question which comes is how the madness in living entities can be cured. What is the way in which the madness of the living entities can be cured? The punishment doesn't work. How the madness will be cured? If punishment doesn't work, what will work? Hmm? How does that work? But they're not interested. Mad, no? मैं सहरे बेवकूफ, you know? G Jago is saying no. NSC Ashadim is saying no. How is the madness be rectified? Shattering, very risky. That is madness. I will kick personal thing. Very nice. So we were reading of family life. Family members are like tigers, jackals, foxes, and they are eating, drinking the blood and flesh of the person. The person is thinking, so nice. Raishanko always says sometimes the person is lusty after a beautiful girl, she beats him up with the sandal. No? The person thinks, no problem, I got the kick from beautiful girl. Madness. Skyline madness. Bhagavatam explains the male donkey goes to the she donkey for sex. He takes him every time he goes. He thinks no problem. Madness. Yeah. Very rare than in the bhakti. Yes. Who is associated? Very not interesting. Okay. You can engage in, yes. So in a sense, you see, at a continuous presentation, a demonstration of the knowledge and culture. Knowledge awakens, culture sustains. When you give knowledge, person awakens. भाई मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं ठीक कर रहा हूँ कि नहीं but this type of state will remain for a very short time again one will go to sleep the same madness so culture means association of devotees that is how the madness is broken so Krishna breaks the madness of the living entity by his weakness not by his greatness by his weakness by sweet father Keshu Bhagwan Ekatavadhanavadha Paribhasaya Pratyutirya Munivara Supashamashiva Pranatmaya Nimitta Vabhoge Karmarapam Vipanaya Pradya Apitato Devadek Goswami said, O Maharaj Parikshit, when King Raghunath chastised the exalted devotee Jadabharat with harsh words, that peaceful, saintly person tolerated it all and replied politely. In science is due to bodily conception, and Jadabharat was not affected by this false conception. Out of his natural humility, he never considered himself a great devotee, and he agreed to suffer the results of his past life. Like an ordinary man, he thought that by carrying a palanquin, destroying the reactions, of his past misdeed. Thinking in this way, he began to carry the palanquin. Perfect. An exalted devotee of the Lord never thinks that he is a Paramahansa, liberated person. He always remains the humble servant of the Lord. In all the reverse conditions, he agrees to suffer the results of his past life. He never accuses the Lord of putting him in a distressed condition. These are signs of an exalted devotee. Tatte nupapam sukhamishamana. When suffering reverse conditions, the devotee always considers the reverse conditions of the Lord's concessions. He is never angry with his master, he is always satisfied with the position his master offers. In any case, he continues performing his duty in devotional service. Such a person is guaranteed promotion back from Bhaktisiddhanta. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, this is 10:14:8, Tattenutam tam tamastu mikshamana pujan eva makritam kritam idvarvapurve namaste viveto muktipade tadaya. My dear Lord, one who constantly waits for your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him, and who goes on suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds. Offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart is surely eligible for liberation, because for it has become his rightful place. So here it is explained tolerance is divine. Tolerance is a great virtue. Tolerance is divine. Material conditions have to be tolerated. There is no other way. Material setups have to be vacated and metal conditions have to be tolerated. So here Prabhupada is quoting Lord Brahmaji, when Lord Brahmaji is saying that such a so devotee is able to tolerate material situations because a devotee's goal is always fixed in the pleasure of Krishna and service to Krishna. So because see, it is not that a great devotee of the Lord has no feeling, his senses are numb. No, he doesn't give much importance to the upheavals on the bodily and mental platform. That's the point. Why? Because his consciousness is fixed on the pleasure of the Supreme. And that is why it's being said here that such a devotee is very happy with whatever the master gives. Doesn't demand. So the more we understand the value of Krishna consciousness, the less importance we'll give to mental affairs, and the more we'll be able to tolerate. And therefore, it is explained here that one who sees everything as Krishna's mercy, such a person has perfected his vision. For such a person, going back to Godhead is his right. Let's read further. Sachapi Pandava Pandave Sindhu Sauvira Patistatva Jignasayam Sandhya Shraddhayadikara Adi Krita Adhikarastat Hridaya Granthi Mochana Vijavacha Ashrutya Bahu Yoga Grantha Sammata Tvarayava Ruhya Sirasa Padamuram Upasitaha क्षमापयान् विगत निपदेव समय उवाच. Sukadeva Goswami said the best of the Pandu density. Maharaj Parikshit, the king of the Sindhu and Sauvira states, Maharaj Raghuvan, had great faith in the discussions of the absolute truth. Being thus qualified, he heard from Jada Bharat the philosophical presentation which is approved by all scriptures on the mystic yoga process and which slackens the knot in the heart. His material conception of himself as a king was thus destroyed. He immediately descended from his palanquin and fell flat on the ground. Yeah. So Krishna Katha creates awakenings. And we are seeing here how Rahugun Maharaj is getting awakened. So therefore, hearing from bona fide spiritual master leads to awakening. Perfect. In Bhagavad Gita 4.2, the Lord says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajas sakale nehamata yoganasta parantapa. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in the course of the time, the succession is broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Through the disciplic succession, the royal order was on the same platform as great saintly persons, the Rajarishis. Formerly, they could understand the philosophy of life and knew how to train the citizens to come to the same standard. In other words, they knew how to deliver the citizens from the entanglement of birth and death. When Maharaj Dasharatha ruled Ayodhya, the great sage Vishwamitra once came to him to take away the Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman to the forest to kill a demon. When the saintly person Vishwamitra came to the court of Maharaj Dasharatha, the king, in order to receive the saintly person, asked him, Ahistam yat tat punarjanma jayaya. He asked the sage whether everything was going on well in his endeavor to conquer the repetition of birth and death. The whole process of Vedic civilization is based on this point. We must know how to conquer the repetition of birth and death. Maharaj Raghuvan also knew the purpose of life. Therefore, when Jadabharat put the philosophy of life before him, he immediately appreciated it. This is the foundation of Vedic society. Learned scholars, brahmanas, saintly persons, sages, who were fully aware of the Vedic purpose, advised the royal order how to benefit the general masses. And by their cooperation, the general masses were benefited. Therefore, everything was successful. So Maharaj Raghuvan attained this perfection by understanding the value of human life. Therefore, he regretted his insulting words to Jadabharat. So at the present moment, high government officials are ignorant of the values of life, and when saintly persons endeavor to broadcast the Vedic knowledge, the so-called executives do not offer the respectful obeisances, but try to obstruct the spiritual propaganda. Thus, one can say the former kingly government was like heaven, and the present government is like hell. Okay, so let's stop here for today. We continue further in our next class. Congratulations, Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.